Dear students, you are welcome to attend a series of lectures on plant cells. We shall discuss different types of plant cells and the structure and function of different organelles present in these cells. Before starting, let's recall that a cell is basic structural, functional, and biological unit of all living organisms. In biology, the cell theory is the historic scientific theory now, which is universally accepted. It states that the living organisms are made up of cells, that they are the basic structural organizational unit of all living organisms, and that all cells come from pre-existing cells. Cells are the basic unit of structure in all living organisms, and also the basic unit of reproduction. The three principles of cell theory are can be the three principles can be summarized as: all living organisms are composed of one or more cells. The cell is the basic unit of structure and organization in organisms. Organisms consisting of only one cell carry out all functions of life in that cell. So there are basically 8 different functions of life, which are summarized here, which include from nutrition to reproduction. And finally, the new cells arise from pre-existing cells by a process or normally of cell division. So examples, there are several different kinds of cells in different organisms based upon structure and function. We can say, for example, nerve cells, red blood cells, bacterial cells, algae, pollen cells in plants, and there are some other types of cells. In plants as well, there are several different types of cells that perform various functions. Before discussing the structure and function of plant cell, let's revise our understanding of overall plant structure. Here are some examples of different cells present in plants. For example, there are male germline cells or gametophyte cells, female cells, mesophyll cells, trichomes, root hairs, specific root cell types. There are some other types. Similarly, there are phloem, Sclerenchyma, palisade mesophyll cells, Parenchyma, Xylem. So there are several different types of cells. We shall discuss some of them in detail. But let's first discuss the structure or overall structure of a normal plant. So despite their apparent diversity, all seed plants have the same basic body plan, as it can be seen here. The vegetative body is composed of 3 organs: leaf, stem, and root. The primary function of a leaf is photosynthesis, that of the stem is support, and that of the root is anchorage and absorption of water and minerals. Leaves are attached to the stems at nodes, and the region of stem between two nodes. So the region of stem between two nodes is called internode. So the stem together with its leaves is commonly referred to as a shoot. So as we can see, here are some leaf, the stem and root. Here are main normal plant type, and here are the cross sectional representations and different types of cells present in these portions. So a fundamental difference between plants and animals is that each plant cell is surrounded by a rigid cell wall. In animals, embryonic cells can migrate from one location to another, resulting in the development of tissues and organs containing cells that originated in different parts of the organism. So, in plants, such cell migrations are prevented because each walled cell and its neighbors are cemented together by a middle lamella. The middle lamella serves as a cementing layer between primary walls of adjacent cells. Plants have two types of walls, and secondary, primary and secondary walls. Primary walls Primary walls are typically thin, less than 1 micrometer in width, and are synthesized in actively growing cells. Secondary cell walls are thicker and stronger than primary walls and are deposited when most cell enlargement has ended. Secondary cell walls owe their strength and toughness to a brittle glue-like material called lignin. So here we can see the secondary cell walls present in different tracheid cells of vascular tissues. So secondary cell walls are deposited in certain cells such as xylem vessel elements and sclerenchyma cells after cell expansion is stopped. So how new cells are formed in plants? So new cells are produced by dividing tissues called meristems. Plant growth is concentrated in localized regions of the cell division called meristems. So nearly all nuclear divisions, which is mitosis, and cell divisions, which represent cytokinesis, occur in these meristematic regions. In a young plant, the most active meristems are called apical meristems. They are located at the tip of the stem and root, as shown in the figure. At the nodes, axillary buds contain the apical meristem for branch shoots. Lateral roots arise from the pericycle as internal meristematic tissues. So next is plant growth. So the phase of plant development that gives rise to new organs and to basic plant forms is called primary growth. The primary growth results from the activity of apical meristem, in which cell division is followed by progressive cell enlargement, typically elongation. So after elongation in a given region is complete, secondary growth may occur. So secondary growth involves two lateral meristems, the vascular cambium and the cork cambium. The vascular cambium gives rise to secondary xylem, which is wood, and secondary phloem. The cork cambium produces the periderm, consisting mainly of cork cells. The types of tissues. So three major tissue systems are found in all plant organs. These tissue systems are dermal tissues, ground tissues, and vascular tissues, which include mainly the xylem and phloem tissues. So there are several types of plant cells, as I have already discussed. Here we shall discuss some major types. So this diagram is a representation of a typical leaf with top side in this direction and the bottom side of the leaf in this direction. So these cells include parenchyma cells, collenchyma cells, Sclerenchyma cells, Xylem cells, Phloem cells, Meristematic cells, Epidermal cells. So now let's discuss them in detail. So parenchyma cells, they are live, thin-walled cells with permeable walls that are undifferentiated. They do not have a specialized structure, hence they easily adapt and differentiate into a variety of cells performing different functions. So there are two types of parenchyma cells. These are called palisade parenchyma cells and ray parenchyma cells. So these cells are columnar elongated structure cells which are found in variety of leaves present in lower epidermal tissues. So these cells are closely linked cells in layers of mesophyll cells which are found in the leaves. Ray parenchyma has both radial and horizontal arrangement, and these cells are mainly found within stem of the wood plant. Functions of parenchyma cells. There are several functions of parenchyma cells, which include, parenchyma cells are closely linked to the surface epidermal cells. It links the epidermal cells, which contribute largely to the light penetration and absorption and regulation of gaseous exchanges between plant and the environment. The permeable wall of these cells allows the transportation of small molecules between the cells and the cell cytoplasm. Similarly, the palisade parenchyma cells combine with spongy mesophyll cells in the leaves, which are found below the layer of epidermal tissues, assist in light absorption, and this absorbed light is used in photosynthesis. Ray parenchyma cells, which are found in wood rays, transport materials along the plant stem. The parenchyma cells are also found in good numbers within xylem and in the phloem of vascular plants. Therefore, they help these cells in transporting water and food materials throughout plant body. Some of these cells are also involved in biochemical secretion of nectar and manufacturing secondary elements that act as protective materials from herbivores' feedings. And lastly, these parenchyma cells found in root tubers such as potatoes, leguminous plants, they help in storage of food. Next is collenchyma cells. They are elongated cells found below the epidermis and are in young plants on the outer layers of their stems and leaves. They become alive after maturing and are derivatives of meristems. They are found in vascular tissues and are on plant stem corners. These cells occur in peripheral regions of plant and they are not found in plant roots. So there are four subtypes of these collenchyma cells which are listed here. The angular collenchyma cells, tangential collenchyma cells, annular and lacunar collenchyma cells, which are differentiated on the basis of their shapes and also sometimes on the basis of their functions. So let's discuss the function of these cells. For example, as these cells are living cells, so they give support to the plant areas that are growing and maturing in length. These cells offer flexibility and tensile strength to plant tissues. which allows the plants to bend. They are also uh, involved in growth and elongation of different parts of the plant. Collenchyma can combine with chloroplast and perform the process of photosynthesis. Next is Sclerenchyma cells. Mature Sclerenchyma cells have a secondary cell wall over the primary cell wall. I mean, they have both types of primary and secondary cell walls. They are found in all plant roots. They are important in anchoring and giving support to the plants. Let's discuss the functions of these cells. Due to their thickened cell wall, they offer protection and support to other plant tissues, especially the tree trunks and fibers of large herbal trees. The hardened cell wall discourages herbivory. I mean, when the insects ingest the hard cell wall of these cells, it damages the digestive tract of larval stagil insects, especially, for example, in peach fruits. Next is the xylem cells. So, as you already know, that xylem cells are complex cells which are found in vascular tissues of woody plants, uh, and they have two elements for conduction. I mean, they transport water and the mineral nutrients. So these two elements are xylem tracheids and xylem basal elements. So let's discuss some similarities and differences between xylem tracheids and basals. So here are some similarities. So both these elements are component of xylem, and both of them are dead at maturity. Similarly, they can transport water and nutrients. Both cells possess secondary lignified cell wall, and both are present in primary and secondary xylem. There are several differences between these two components of xylem. I mean, basal is formed by piling up of many cells. On the other hand, tracheids are individual cells. Xylem vessels are obviously shorter than tracheids, and vessels are more advanced. Here is the length. I mean, they are as long as 10 centimeter in length. On the other hand, tracheids are smaller, so they are obviously 1 millimeter in length. These cells are broader than tracheids. Obviously, the lumen is large, and these cells are circular when their cross-sectional picture is taken. Secondary cell wall is thinner in vessels as compared to tracheids, and vessel cells contain diagonal or transverse end walls, and also vessel cells are usually found or present in angiosperms. Angiosperms. On the other hand, tracheids are present in lower organisms, lower plants like pteridophytes, gymnosperms, and also in higher plants like angiosperms. Phloem cells. So these cells are located outside the xylem layer of the cells, as you can see here in this diagram. They become alive at maturity because they need the energy to move materials. They function to transport food from the plant leaves to other parts of the plant. They also have a flaccid cell wall, so therefore they lack the tensile strength that allows them to move materials at high pressure. So obviously there are two different types of phloem cells. They are sieve tube elements and sieve cells, as we have already seen in our previous slides. Next is meristematic cells. These are the cells in the plant that divide continuously throughout the life cycle of a plant, and they have a self-renewable ability and high metabolism to control the cell, and they play a major role in length and width of sizes of the plant. They also give variation in the sizes of plant leaves. So there are three types of meristematic cells which are classified according to the tissue they exist in. For example, apical meristem, they are found at the tip of the roots and stems that have started growing, and they contribute to the length of the plant. Lateral meristem, they are found in the radial part of the stem and roots, and they contribute to the plant thickness. And finally, the intercalary meristems, they are found at the base of the leaves, and the contribution to the size variation of the leaves. Epidermal cells. So these are the external cells of the plants which offer protection to the plants and for water loss, and they also protect the plants from pathogenic invasions or invaders such as fungi or sometimes insects. So these are placed closely together, and there are no intracellular spaces between these cells. They are covered with a waxy cuticle layer which prevents the loss of water from these plants. And these cells cover the plant stems, leaves, roots, plant seeds. I mean, they are present in almost every organ of the plant. So there are three different types of epidermal cells. I mean, there are other types as well, but three types are major types, which include pavement cells, stomatal guard cells, and trichomes. So let's discuss pavement cells. So pavement cells are involved in the maintenance of internal temperature of the plant. I mean, these pavement cells. So these pavement cells are also act as a physical barrier from the pathogens and external damages from chemicals such as radiations. Moreover, these pavement cells separate different stomata, as it can be seen. It can be seen here. These are the stomata, and these are some other pavement cells. Stomatal guard cells. So they are highly specialized cells, and they have very defined shape. They are found in epidermis of leaves, stems, and other organs. These cells control water availability and gaseous exchange between stomata and their environment. Trichomes. Trichomes are epidermal hairs which are found on epidermal tissues. They play a major role in protecting plants from predators and pathogens by acting as trappers and poisoners to the animal predators. These trichomes, which are present here, they are also sometimes present on the stems and the leaves, and sometimes on the seeds of the plants. So now let's discuss a typical plant cell. Uh, what are different organelles present in the plant cell and their function and their structure. But I think it's enough for this lecture. We shall start in the next lecture about the structure and function of different organelles present in plant cells.